been the alpha, right? Like not being soft and not showing you that I'm soft in any way. Like I was just like, oh, I'm partying. Like you do what I tell you, this and that. Like I could have been that person.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm the man of the house.
Yeah. But me choosing to be like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. I had to kind of like be quote unquote soft. Because I had to show you emotions. Yeah. So I had to show you emotion. Like, no, I'm really here. Like we're really gonna do this.
Let's really dig deep on that. Is that really being soft?
It's not.
It's in my opinion, it's not.
It's not. But
it's considered.
But yeah.
For the outside world, right? For the thugs, right? For the ones who the manly man out there, manly man in quotations, right?
Is that considered a blue pill?
I don't know. Let's not go into that because I'm not sure how that works. That is you being soft, right? You know, you being this husband who's respectful, who tells has good communication with your wife, you're a good parent, you're present, you're loyal. But is that really soft? It's not, because that's the hard way of doing things. That is the hard path, right? You having dignity, you having loyalty, you knowing how to have self-control.
And values, like your values.
Values. That's definitely not being soft. That's a way for them to make you feel soft, right? It's a way for them to try and degrade you, try and say, well, you do whatever your wife says, so you're not...
You're soft, like you're not the person you used to be.
Right. But in reality, when it comes down to everything, you are much more stronger and tougher than they could ever be.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's hard, especially when you're first doing it, because obviously, and I'm talking about like people that grew up in that environment, because there's people that don't grow up in that environment. You have friends and everybody's like, oh, you change, or they kind of start acting weird, and it's like, yeah, I'm changed. Like, I'm trying to change.
And that's
right?
what we're supposed
at that
to do.
point, yeah. So then, people start just feeling certain type of ways, and it's like, oh, you're different. Like, yeah, I'm different. You're right.
Yeah. I think some people try to make you feel bad when you've changed, and they see that all of a sudden they don't fit in the mold that you once were, right? They don't fit in with you anymore, and they try to make you feel like it's a bad thing. And change is good.
Either that, or they make it seem like you are acting like you are better than them.
But most of the time, it's not that you're acting like you're better than them, it's that they are feeling intimidated.
Or most of the time, it is that you are better than them.
Well, if you've elevated in life, right, and you are now sticking to your values, and you are, I don't want to say that you're better than them, but you have chosen to elevate your life.
Not like better as like, hey, I'm better than you, but
because
a better path.
Right, you've chosen the better path because they can themselves choose the same path.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, everyone is capable of being a better person, going forward. Yeah. Like, your past doesn't define you. You can choose to be better right this second. Yeah. Nothing is holding you back. But for a lot of people, that's difficult. They don't like change. Yeah. They don't like to move forward. They just like to know. They just like to stay in environments where they know what to expect, and they don't want to evolve because it's scary to them.
Yeah.
And
it's also not easy because you actually need to want to change.
For sure.
Because it's not like you can just be like, oh, I'm just going to be a better husband, but be around, let's say, people that are not great husbands. It's like you got to go out and search for that information.
Yeah. So
like if you're not educating yourself or even just trying, like it's not going to happen.
And some people don't understand that. And it's difficult. It's difficult because you have people in your circle that mean something to you, that you grew up with maybe, that you have love for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good for you in the improvements. It doesn't mean that they're going to be helpful when it comes to you improving your life.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are not going to be comfortable with that. So not to say that you should just forget about those people and, diss on them or anything, but you need to make a conscious decision when you are ready to evolve, to start hanging out with people who are going to feed you things that you haven't been around, to teach you things that you haven't been taught. Good, positive things, of course. And that's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they're betraying their friends and their family and, whoever has been around their circle for as long as they've been in this earth. They feel like they're betraying their people if they even think that. Yeah,
and sometimes it is like it could be very close family or very close friends that is like your values no longer align.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't even know if it's like a conversation that you have with that person. Or it's just like...
it just happens, right? But usually the other party feels it. Mm-hmm. And it might not be intentional. For me, I feel like you have to have a balance. It's not about like kicking those people to the curb and never talking to them again. Like, that's not... You don't need to do that. You don't need to completely like remove them from your life. But if like, for instance, let's say you are a big drinker and your goal is to go sober. Mm-hmm. You don't want to drink again, you don't want to have alcohol, you feel like it's bad for your health, and some research that you've been doing has convinced you that you want to live a sober life. You don't want alcohol to be a part of you. If the people you hang out with, all they want to do is party and drink, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to stick to that if you're just around alcohol all day long, right? Or on the weekends, or every time you're hanging out, there's alcohol involved. So at that point, you have to make a conscious decision. Okay, you guys are either on board with me or you're going to have to stop hanging out. There's just no other way.
No, and I do feel like some people just distance themselves without you even have to say something. They kind of feel like I shouldn't be in that room. Yeah. I feel like that even happened even with you when we first had kids. Like there was people that kind of stepped away because they couldn't relate no more.
Yeah. It's like I'm a mom now.
Yeah, it's like it naturally just happens. And some people do stick around and they kind of want to change, but they also don't feel like asking like, hey, how do I do it? Because I do feel like I have people that want to change, but they don't know, like, either maybe they don't know that I am willing to say, hey, just do this, this and that. Not that that's like I know the answers, but they feel like I don't want to use the word intimidated because it's not like I don't want to feel like I intimidate people. Okay. They just, I don't know, don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
To say that they don't want to feel vulnerable and say like, hey, like my life is fucked up. I think that's
the key word.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a hard time being vulnerable and admitting that, hey, I haven't been living my life the best way I could, and I know there's things that I need to change, but it's difficult to admit that openly. And so maybe you're right. Maybe some people just stay in the background and they observe you, and, that's cool too. If you can learn like a thing or two from just observing someone and, just learning from their new lifestyle, that's also great. But it's also okay to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable with people, like, especially if you've seen a person's evolution for the better. Honestly, I feel like if a person has put in so much work to become a better person, nothing will make them happier than to have an old friend come to them and say like, hey, I really love what you've done with your life, and like, I want to be a part of this. Like, how can I do what you've done? Like, I admire what you've done. Like, how can I be a part of your circle like today? Like, I want to, not that you cut them off, but like you say, people, they themselves distance themselves when they don't feel like they fit in anymore.
And then we also have to distance ourselves because at the end of the day, it's like we just don't align. So it's like, like I don't want my kids, my wife, like saying, like some people, it's not that we don't love you, right? It's just like I just don't feel comfortable in that environment no more.
Right. Like there's all of a sudden you don't have things in common to like talk about, If you enjoyed this clip, please don't forget to check out the full episode of our podcast here.
Click it. Come on, I'm waiting. Click it.
That was cute.